Katherine Gibson for Insight. Egypt's presidential elections are coming up on May 23rd and 24th. To discuss the implications of the race, I'm joined by David Schenker, Director of the Program on Arab Politics at the Washington Institute for Near East Policy. David, thank you very much for joining me today.
It's good to be with you.
Can you take me through some of the leading candidates for the Egyptian presidential election and their backgrounds?
Sure. If you start out with the people that we know best, it's Amr Moussa, who was a long-time foreign minister of Egypt and then in the Arab League, as the head of the Arab League for the past decade or so until he resigned. He was very close with Mubarak regime and is known to be somewhat secular, very populist in Egypt. You have Mohamed Morsi, who is the head of the Freedom and Justice Party, which is the Muslim Brotherhood's political party. And he's a longtime party functionary, not particularly charismatic and not particularly well-liked, but a hardline Islamist. You have another guy named Abdelmonem Abou-Fatouh, who was actually a leader of the Muslim Brotherhood. This is very early on after the Mubarak was toppled. The Brotherhood said initially that they would not run a candidate for president, and Abou-Fatouh said he would run for president and was kicked out of the Brotherhood. So he is running sort of as an independent Islamist. He has the same agenda. He's been a member of the Brotherhood and a functionary for 22 years. Deviates very little for the party, and in fact recently received the backing of the Salafis, which are the ultra-conservative Islamists in Egypt for the presidency.
There are some concerns that the ruling generals are trying to, so-called sabotage the election, and there have been protests in Tahrir Square about this. What do you make of those protests? Where will they go?
Well, I think there's good reason to be concerned about what the SCAF wants to do. I mean, you've got competing models here of visions for Egypt. I like to say it's a Turkish model. The Islamists have a Turkish model, and the military has a Turkish model. One is the old model, the old Turkey, where the military were the guardians of the secular state, as it were, controlled foreign policy, national security policy, and the government had sort of domestic affairs. And anytime the government would overstep its bounds, the military would step in, have a coup, and remove the government. That was the old model. The new model is the Erdogan model in Turkey, where the Islamists take control of the parliament, the executive, and over time they defang the military. They put top military leaders in jail to the point where the military can no longer perpetrate a coup, and that's the situation you have right now. And I think the Islamists are looking at the military, and the military is looking at the Islamists, and both are saying, hey, we want to protect what's ours.
And how is the Egyptian media keeping up with all of this? Are they providing adequate coverage of these presidential elections and these issues in the U.S.-Egyptian relationship?
Yeah, the press in Egypt is really vibrant. It is something that started really during the Mubarak era, and people would get in trouble for it. They'd be fired, they'd be put in jail, it was quite dangerous to be a journalist. You'd be harassed, you'd be beaten up. I mean, it was an occupational hazard, a professional hazard. But today, we have 1,000 flowers blooming. Now, not all of this is responsible journalism, but there are people out there writing, and there's a plethora of newspapers from right to left, from Islamist to secular. I mean, it crosses the full spectrum, and I think that there is, very good coverage. And you have to sort it out for yourself about what is reliable and what you like to read, but there's a lot out there.
So we know the elections are coming up on the 23rd and 24th of May. What happens next, and what should we be looking for?
I think what we have to see is, who gets first past the post, who the top two candidates are. I think the military is hoping that at least one of those is a guy named Amr Moussa. This is going to be their candidate. I think they see him as the best of a bad bunch. I think that liberals in the country, the ones who actually ran the revolution but who are now largely shut out of the political process, are very concerned that there will be a political monopoly going forward, that in fact Islamists will sweep, not only control 75% of the parliament, but also control the executive, and then start legislating really oppressive social agenda. But even more immediate than that, and forgive me for rambling here, but is the economy in the country, which is reaching a crisis point. The standard figure used to be 40% of the people in Egypt make less than $2 a day. I'd say that now, a year after the revolution, when expectations were so high that the people's economic situations would improve, you probably have 50% of the people in Egypt making less than $2 a day. The reserves are down from $36 billion at the time of the revolution to $14 billion.
And do the candidates have a viable plan for addressing any of this?
Well, this is the issue, right? I mean, everybody should be focused on economics, and what we're seeing are mostly platitudes. There are a couple of documents that the Islamists have put out in the parliament about an economic plan. Both the Salafis and the Muslim Brotherhood, Amr Musa's been talking about it. There's not really a serious look at the economy, and there's a lot of fiddling around about this IMF loan for $3 billion that Egypt really needs desperately. And of course, underpinning the whole revolution was the idea of social justice. Right? And what does that mean? Does that mean income redistribution? Does that mean going back and undoing all the corrupt business deals of the 30 years during the Mubarak era? What does that do for the confidence in the markets for foreign direct investment? So none of these things are really being talked about in any depth right now, but I would hope that they are as we get closer to the elections.
Well, David, thank you very much for speaking with me today. I appreciate it.
My pleasure.